Hello everybody out there in Flosstube world. This is Vicki, aka the Virginia Stitcher, coming to you with my Flosstube video number 24. Had to look at my notes. I always forget what number I am. I have to write it down. And sometimes I forget what the date is. But today is March 31st, 2022. So that we are in the last day of March. So I will be going over today what I've been working on the last 2 weeks since I last checked in with you guys. I'm going to also give you my plans for April. And then we know how plans are. They can be, my plans anyway, can be fluid. So that is kind of in a nutshell what we're going to do today. So I want to welcome you guys here. I thank you so much for coming by and spending your time with me. I know my last video last week was my kitted parade. So it was a Flosstube video of all of my fully and partially kitted kits, cross-stitch kits that I have. And it was a movie-length epic. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. So for those of you who stuck in there and watched the whole thing, I applaud you. You are a warrior to stick in there for that long. But I knew I had a lot to show. So my 1 year Flosstube anniversary will be in May. So probably mid-year, probably about June, more than likely. I'm planning on doing a WIP parade. Now, when I do my WIP parade, it will probably have to be divided into 2 videos. Part 1 and a part 2, because I don't want it to run, 3 hours or more. If my kitted parade took 2 hours and 20 minutes, my WIP parade is probably going to take a little bit longer than that. So I'm not going to subject you guys to that lengthy of a video. My videos do run an hour. That's why I thank you all for joining me. If you come back again and again, that you watch my videos, they're usually somewhere around an hour in length for my average videos. So I talk a lot. I got a lot to share. I come in every 2 weeks and I try to cover all the bases of everything that I wanted to tell you guys over the last 2 weeks. I love, I know I'm in my basement, in my craft room, just talking to my iPad. But I know you guys are going to see it. So I know I'm talking to you individually, each and every one of you. And I love the feedback that I get. I love the comments, and just all of the, you guys are wonderful. This is a wonderful, wonderful community. I cannot say that enough. You guys are just awesome. And that we all share this love of cross stitch, and it makes our large world smaller. And it makes where we can connect with people in another country. We can connect across the country with each other and even across town. And I love that. I love that. I love that. So I wanted to get right into my WIPS first. For those of you who like to come and see all of the stitchy goodness, I want to show you what I've been up to for the last couple of weeks. I have I have a finish. I cannot believe it. There is a lady who does Flosstube. Her name is C. Zook Stitch on Flosstube. Her name is Carolyn. And she, along with another lady, head up a magazine monthly challenge group on Facebook. And they were doing a challenge this week. It was Spring into Action. And it was trying to work, I think it was like work at least 5 hours on your closest to a finish WIP. So I picked up my closest to a finished WIP and I worked on it for the 5 hours, and I was so close to having it finished. Just a couple, I think 2 or 3 more hours, and I would have it finished. So I went ahead and continued to work on it, and I finished it. And I started this last year. So it took me a little over a year to finally get this one done. This one is my Home of a Needleworker. And this one is stitched on 16 count Ada in the color white chocolate. And it is stitched with, I think it's mostly the called for threads, the overdyes. I did switch out the roof color for La Tierra by Classic Colorworks. I wanted a little bit more variegation in my roof. And so I was able to come in and finish this piece because this was my closest to a finished WIP. And I'm so glad I have this one finished. This is by Little House Needleworks. So, and it's called Home of a Needleworker 2, T-O-O. They have an original one, and then they have this one. So I am happy to have this one finished. This was fun to stitch, and I'm hoping to find a little frame. I think this is going to fit in an 8x10 frame really nicely. So I'm going to try to find just a frame that has an easel back. That's my plans, to set back here, maybe somewhere on my bookshelf back here. Right now I have my Firefly Fairies that are lavender and lace that I stitched many moons ago. I stitched these ladies back in the early 2000s, probably like 2003, 2004, sometime around then. And I stitched all of my lavender and lace and all of my, well, I only stitched one Maribelia back then. And I stitched all of them on 16 count Aida instead of a linen. So they are actually stitched on a 16 count. I can bring them up closer and show them to you. I like to let people know that you can stitch, if you're just an Aida stitcher, you can stitch Maribelias and lavender lace on, there's a lot of glare. You can stitch them on Aida. I don't know if you're able to see that. That is Aida. And I can't remember the color that this one was done on. Like I said, this was years ago. But you can see all of the beads. And the reason I do 16 count is they call for either 16 count or 32 count for the fabric. And that's so that the beads lay nicely. And then that's when I did a lot of lavender and lace pieces back then. And that's when I came to find that I love stitching on 16 count Aida because this, it does have a terrible glare. They are just in regular glass. It's not museum glass. I did have this one professionally framed years ago and have had it hanging in my house. It's not hanging right now. When we moved into this house, I just haven't hung a lot of different things yet. So you can stitch on 16 count. There's very, very little fractional stitching. It's usually just in the skin, like the face and the hands of the pieces. Let me stick my fully finished piece, or well, fully stitched piece. I haven't FFO'd it yet. Like I said, I want to put it on probably an 8x10 frame that has an easel back that I can set back here somewhere. That is my plan for that one. Now we go into the rest of my WIPs. What else I've been working on this last couple of weeks. And I worked a little bit more after my previous check-in with you guys on Ink Circle's Dog's Declaration. Looks like this. I picked this up at In Stitches in Alexandria when I was there about a month ago. And loved it. They had this, the model of this on the wall, and I had to pick this one up. It is charted for Valdani threads, but I went with the DMC conversion for this piece, except I do have I believe it's a Gentle Arts Brown Bear, I think it is. I'll have to pull it out. But for the lettering, because I wanted to have variegation in the lettering on this piece, but I loved it. Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Squirrels is a Dog's Declaration. I'm stitching this one on, I think it's 32 count. But I have all of the called for DMCs. I just put them on a card here. So these are all the DMC colors for it. Don't you like how beautifully nice and neat all of my flosses always are? They work. They don't knot up or anything, but they don't look lovely like some people. I can't find the sheet, but I think it's on a 32 count. It looks like 32 count. Antique white Lugana that I picked up at In Stitches when I was there. So I went ahead and kitted this piece, and then I started it like that same week. So I was able to come in and finish the word life. I didn't have the E and the comma done. So I came in and I put the E, the comma, this crown, this leaf here. I think that's all I worked on it one day and got that finished on this piece. So like I said, this is all DMC except for this brown color that I'm doing the words in. And that one is, I don't know why I had that one. Oh, I am, let's see, here it is. Gentle Arts. I have it in a floss away bag. I'll get it out real quick here for you guys. Gentle Arts Brown Bear is the color that I decided to switch in for the brown for the lettering. But also I was looking and I went through my stash that I have here of flosses, and you'll see this leaf. I forgot I had done this. This leaf here, there is a little bit of variegation in this leaf. I don't know if you can see it or not, because I went ahead and I looked through my stash and I pulled out a Weeks Dye Works Celadon that has just a little bit of variegation. It matched really close to the called for DMC for that. So I thought for bigger pieces in my piece, I might pull in a couple of variegateds. So it was very, very close to the color, but it just had a little bit of variegation. And since that leaf was a little bit larger, I went ahead and just subbed that in for that leaf motif. So I might be switching in a little bit of overdyes here and there. Well, I am, because I already have. We'll see how much I do switch in. But this is going to be a fairly large piece, and I'm loving this piece. It's fun. I just love the saying on it. I'm a dog person, love animals. So that is where I am on this one so far. I am planning on pulling this one up a little bit more this in April, tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow probably per se, but sometime during the month, and getting some more work done on this one. But we'll get to my plans later. So that is where I am on Dog's Declaration by Ink Circles. Let's set that down here. The next WIP that I worked on was a piece that I had started, and then I wanted to restart it because I wasn't feeling the fabric color. I told you guys last time, this one is one that I pulled up off of Etsy by Victoria House Designs. She's a Ukrainian designer, Victoria, and I'm doing this one, All We Need Is Love. It's hard, there's not a full picture of the whole completed piece here. On her, if you go to her Etsy page, Victoria House Design, she shows on there, she even has a little video clip where she shows the actual stitched piece, and you can see the whole thing. But I was stitching it on this piece of fabric that I had taken and coffee and tea dyed over a color that was already there, and it was kind of came out really drab. I had originally started stitching Sarah Guillermani's Winter Village on here, Christmas Village, and I didn't like it. So then I put it aside, this piece of fabric, and thought I'll use it for something else. And so I started that piece on this fabric, but the grays and stuff, it was just looking too blah. I thought I could change the floss or I can change the fabric. So I decided to change the fabric and stitch it on a completely different colorway. And this one is by Seraphim Fabrics in the color Capri. And I didn't get very far. I just stitched on it one evening. But look how much, I love it so much more. This fabric is gorgeous. Like I said, this one is by Seraphim Fabrics, and it's a 16 count Aida in the color Capri. And I had purchased this from Guérin Stitchery. And I love this fabric when it came in, and I knew I'd find a perfect piece for it. And I think this is going to work so much better than, it gives it more life, I think, than this. So, this to this, I love this fabric better. It's just my personal choice. So I restarted that one, and that's how far I got on that one so far. I didn't get very far on this one, but I am so much more happy with my color choice on that one. So like I said, I just picked it up and worked on it a day, see if that fabric would work for this one. And then when I get a chance, I want to have more time to work on this one a little bit more. The pattern with it. Then the next thing that I worked on is was on my WIP Go, and my, well, I can't remember what WIP Go number this one was, but this was on my WIP Go for March, and this one is called A Changed World by the Scarlet House. Looks like this. Let me see if I can get less glare. There you go. And I was working in this top section up here, and when I had worked on it previously, I told you I did a big boo-boo. I started this too far down, and I set it aside, and then a couple of commenters said, you know, you might be able to still work with it. And so I looked at it, I counted it out to see if my letters, I wanted to make sure my lettering in the words here wouldn't bump into these baskets of flowers. They look like flower baskets here. Because see how close that comes to the lettering? And you see how close the flower baskets are supposed to be to these corner pieces? And how close everything is? Well, I have a little extra space because I did a boo-boo and I started too far down. I'm stitching this one on 18 count Caramel Macchiato by Fiber on a Whim. And this is, I was able to finish that top section. Let me, oops, sorry about that. So you can see that I was able to fit the baskets, and they are farther down from, they're supposed to be way up here. I think I counted, I'm 8 stitches. This is, I think, about 8 stitches lower. So I was counting this, when I had come in and started this leaf border here, I was counting it off of this rickrack border, and I must have picked the wrong, you know, the wrong zigzag in here to start when I started it. And then I went across and I did half of this, and I did the basket. And then I came up and I started putting this third line of words in, and I thought, oops, I was over here. And I thought, wait a minute, that's not, it was going to come way down here if I was counting it off of this basket. And that's when I noticed my mistake. So I can live with this because I have enough material. I left myself enough of a border that even though this is going to be a little bit longer than it initially should be, it's still going to work. So when I came in, I needed to come in and extend this border over, do this corner motif, bring the rickrack border down, finish the floral border, and do this flower basket. So I did all of that for my WIP Go goal. My WIP Go goals are set for the year for 10 hours, at least 10 hours on each piece on my WIP Go board. But if I want to, you know, I can work extra. And my 10 hours got me really close, but I still needed to put the basket in and do a couple of more things down here on this flower border. So I went ahead and just stitched another few hours and got that in. So that is where my Changed World, that's where that piece is. And it'll get put away for a little while because I have other things coming into my rotation for this month coming up. But I was able to, you know, get that. And I'm hoping now I won't have a mistake through the rest of it, and I'll be able to have the rest of the bands of the piece line up, hopefully, you know, because I'll start counting from, you know, here from the band, and hopefully the rest of it will, I won't boo-boo, and it won't be a million, you know, instead of 15 inches long or 12 inches long, end up being 20 inches long because I keep making mistakes and have to count down. My next piece is my my StitchCon piece. It's the piece I started at StitchCon 2021 last year in June with Madeline and Cindy, two of the ladies that I met at StitchCon, and we've become stitching friends. they both live, one lives in Northern Virginia, the other lives in Washington, D.C. So we get together periodically, or we also have joined a stitch circle that meets up in Maryland, and we go up there. I'll be going up there shortly, not, you know, in a couple more weeks, up to Maryland to stitch. So, but I have this piece that we all three saw at Keepsakes, and we kitted them up there and started them at StitchCon last year and said it would be our StitchCon piece, and that we all wanted to finish it together this year at StitchCon, this June, and finish it there and ring the bell together for a finish. So this is called Quaker Study by Carriage House Samplings, and we're all three doing it on different fabrics with different threads. I am stitching mine on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color All the Things by Fiber on a Whim. And this is stitched with, I'm stitching it with Threadworks thread, which is a variegated thread. And this one is 1043. And this is how much I have still left of one of the skeins that I'm stitching with. This is how far I was able to get so far. I've been doing this as my morning piece. I'm switching between this and One Nation, the flag piece by Bygone Stitches, that I'm going to show you in a minute. And I stitch on these in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee and I'm settling, you know, I'm starting my day. I usually start with putting a few stitches in these pieces. So before, I think I still had these 4 star motifs here to do. The alphabet, and I came down and I did these 2 motifs. So that's what I was able to do in the last couple of weeks. So I finished all of the alphabet, and I'm down into the last section of the motifs. And it pretty much, I think, mirrors this top one. And then I just have to finish, you know, bring the border down and around. So I'm going to keep plugging away at this, and I'm hoping to get it up to maybe, you know, have a couple of little motifs left, and finish that at StitchCon. So I think I'm on track to have that one at a good place when I leave and do that at StitchCon. My next one is my One Nation piece by Bygone Stitches, and this I'm calling my Still City Stitchers piece because I purchased the pattern and the fabric there, but they did not have the flosses. So I pulled flosses from my stash when I got home and started this piece. And this one looks like this. It's the flag. It has 50 of these star motifs, these Quaker star motifs that represent the 50 stars in the United States flag. And then it has each state in the stripes in the order that they joined the Union. And I just thought that was such a beautiful piece to stitch to go with my patriotic little hallway I'm going to have one of these days when I get all these done, all of my patriotic pieces. But this one I am stitching on, it's Haunted by, let me see if I can find my piece of paper that came with the fabric. Seraphim. This is Seraphim Fabrics Haunted 28 count Lugana is the fabric that I'm stitching it on. And I'm trying to stitch a star and a state each week for most weeks. And let me back up a little bit so you can see the whole thing. So this is Seraphim Fabrics Haunted in 28 count Lugana. So I've been working for 7 weeks since I got back from StitchCon. Still City Stitchers Retreat back in February. So I have 7 of the stars done and 7 of the states. In fact, I stitched in Maryland this morning. So these are the 7 states so far. I think next is New Hampshire, I believe. That'll go next to Maryland. So, I think so. I don't want to pull out can't show you the chart. So I'm loving this piece. This is, like I said, another one that I'm plugging away on in the mornings. I'm trying to stitch on. I'm trying to keep, for the most part, most weeks, if I can, a star and a state a week. And then, you know, there is a buffer. I'm going to try to have this done next year for the Steel City Stitchers retreat, just like I'm doing with my StitchCon piece. And I think I have a buffer. There are 52 weeks in a year, and there's 50 states and 50 stars. So that's a couple of weeks buffer. Plus the ladies, they haven't announced it yet. They haven't come out with the date for next year, but they have said that they're probably going to try to do it a little bit later in the year, because we ended up in a snow ice storm when we were up there in Pennsylvania this past February. So, so that is that piece that I was working on. So far I'm on track with that one also. My next piece is my Twin Peak Primitives piece that I started as a stitch along in August. And anybody can join in. You can do any Twin Peak Primitives piece. And I have 3 that I'm cycling through. I have this piece, One Nation Under God. I have the I'll Be Home series. It's 12 houses, 1 for each month. And The First Thanksgiving, all by Twin Peak Primitives. But this one is One Nation Under God. And what I decided to do, I had started in the middle. So I'd started on this banner here, and I got most of it done. I'm missing a little bit over, whoops, over this side. Everything's backwards. And for me, not for you guys. And I had, you know, the one flag in, no, over here. One flag, this one flower urn started. I got the 2 blue flowers in, a couple of words stitched in. And I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go next. And I decided I was going to come down here and start stitching on the White House. So I started stitching on the roof line a little bit. And I stitched on this for, I don't know, 3 or 4 evenings. And this one is being stitched on 16 count Aida in the color Beautiful Beige. And I am using I'm subbing in a lot of the colors on this one because I was pulling from my stash. But here's what I was able to work on down here. So I've got some of the windows framed in on the one side. I've got the roof line in the center and on the one side here. So I've still got the building comes all the way over, and it comes down to probably about here. So it's a big building. So it's going to take me a while to get that one done. But that is where I am with this piece. Like I said, this is 16 count Aida in the color Beautiful Beige. My next, I'm going to switch this one out for another Twin Peak Primitives, and I'll show you that in my plans for April. Each month I try to switch through my Maribelias and my Twin Peak Primitive pieces. That's what I'm trying to do this year. I'm going to see how that works. And so I can get progress on each of them because they're big pieces. You know, like I said, that house alone is going to take me weeks and weeks to do on that one. So speaking of Maribelia, my next piece that I worked on was my Maribelia focus for this month. And it is Princess Eliana. And I am stitching Princess Eliana on this Peaceful Purple that they called for, but they called for it in linen. But I am doing it on Peaceful Purple in 16 count Aida. And here she is so far. She's still in her Q-snap. Before I had all of this kind of purple and green, this brown down here. So I came in and I did this orange and this green up here. So that was what I worked on for a few days and got that stitched in. She's got quite a few colors in that dress. She's a very colorful girl. And I'm loving her. That's what drew her to me, was just the beautiful, all of the colors that she had going on in her dress. So here she is. Let me see if I can get both in the screen for you. And there's my progress. There is just a tiny bit of this here in the Q-snap that you can't see, but not enough to feel like you're missing out on anything. So that is where I am on Princess Eliana. And she is gorgeous, but she is going to get put away. And I'll be pulling out another Maribelia that I'm working on for the month of April. Now, my last piece that I've got to show you that I was working on was a new start since I last talked to you guys. And it is by Teresa Kogut. Hopefully this won't glare too badly. And it is Newcastle Bouquet. I've been wanting to start this one for a little while. And I had told you I kind of switched around trying to decide what fabric I wanted, and I'd changed my mind 3 times before I started even stitching on this. But I settled on a 28 count Lugana in the color Wheat, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is where I am. So I got a little bit of the ABCs in, and a little bit of the border. And then this is the one cardinal's breast. This is his little chest area. So this cardinal right here, right? So I started on him, I'm just up here in this upper corner, and was able to get this far. And I'm loving the color choice for this one. The colors are really popping off of this nicely, and I'm really enjoying this stitch. So that is where I'm in on that, and I believe that is all. And it's in this beautiful So Much to Love bag with cardinals on it. And I am using all of the called for threads for this one. I did not make any substitutions or changes. So this one is all the Classic Colorworks, the Weeks Dye Works, a couple of DMCs. There's not a whole lot of colors in it. It's mostly reds, greens, a little bit of browns and tans. So, but I do have a few skeins of each because it's a large piece, and I'm going to need several skeins of that red and the green, definitely. Okay, so that puts me down to what my April plans are going to be. I told you that I did my WIPGO pieces, and I was able to get them finished. So far I'm on track on my WIPGO board. I have finished all of March, January, February, and March. And Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, this is her brainchild. And if you want more information on WIPGO, it's not too late to join. You can join anytime you want. You set your own rules, your board, your rules. So you put whatever pieces that you want to work on. If you want to do new starts, if you want it to be knitting, if you want it to be quilting, it doesn't have to be crochet. Anything you want to do with your WIPGO is your choice. So you pick projects and you assign them each to a block. You can have a project assigned to 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. You know, it doesn't matter. It's your board, and you also set your own goals. Like I said, my goals, these are all my projects that I wanted to work on this year. Kind of sloppy writing. I'm left-handed. I never was very good at handwriting. In fact, I got in trouble in school, and not really in trouble, but in elementary school. I remember we moved around a lot. I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Navy. My husband was Navy, you know, very much military family. But I remember having a teacher, I think I was in maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I can't remember. It was late elementary school time frame. And we were moving from one duty station to another duty station. And before we left, that teacher told my parents that, you know, my handwriting needed working on. So I can remember I needed to sit down and I needed to write every evening. I can't remember what I wrote. I don't remember if my parents opened a book and said, write down these paragraphs or what, you know, and take your time. Don't rush through it, you know, practice your penmanship. So I had to work on practicing my penmanship. So I write a lot better than I did as a child, but I scribble a lot, and I can read my writing. And being an admin for many years, at least my boss, I used to always tell him his handwriting was worse than mine. And I used to say, you know, he'd want to see something that maybe something I had. And I said, it's just a written note. I'd say, can you read it? And he'd say, yeah, I can read it. So at least it's legible enough. It's legible enough for me. And then I married, my husband was a corpsman in the Navy, and he has really sloppy, they say he has a doctor's handwriting. It is so funny to look at his handwriting. So I don't feel so bad, because at least I worked on, through a whole summer, I worked on my penmanship. You set your own goals, you set your own projects in it. And so this is my board. And then on the back, I just write down when she calls the numbers. And for this month, she's called the numbers 10 and 7. So Huckleberry Farm and Hoity Toity, I'm going to be working at least 10 hours on those two pieces this month. So that is in my plans, and I want to show you where those are right now. Hoity Toity is by Long Dog Samplers. So that's going to it's going to be my WIP Go. But another thing I'm going to be doing this month that I'm going to try to focus some of my pieces on is I'm going to be doing the designer focus that the Sunshine Stitchers and Garon Stitchery has for the month of April. It is ink circles and long dogs. So this will serve as both because I got pulled for this month for WIP Go. Let me see if I can get it out of its project bag. So this is Long Dog Sampler's Hoity Toity. I am doing a little bit of color and conversions for this, and I am just stitching this. It looks like on a piece of 16 count Aida. This looks to me to be white chocolate. The same, I think that I did the Home of a Needleworker. It's a little wrinkled because she's been stuffed in her bag. But this is going to be my starting point when I start April on this one. This is how far I am on Hoity Toity. So I want to at least come in and work at least another 10 hours this month on this piece. Sorry for the wrinkles. I don't press all of my pieces because they're going to get wrinkled when I start working on them. But I did switch out. It's supposed to be black, and I'm using a very dark blue color. They're all DMCs. I'm working on this one with the DMC colors. I don't remember if it uses silks and DMCs. No, that's just a pattern on the back. And 16 count Aida for my Hoity Toity. But this is how far I am, and I've got quite a ways to go still on this one. So where I started was in the upper left-hand corner. So I got, some of this done right up in here. And I was starting a little bit here. I kind of think that's almost like the tail feathers of the bird, I'm guessing. Those big birds on that house. So I'm going to see how much more I can get done on this piece this month. So that is a WIP Go piece, and also for Focus on a Designer for Garon Stitchery and Sunshine Stitchers for the month of April. So that is one plan. My other WIP Go called piece is by the Blue Flower, and it's Huckleberry Farm. Looks like this. Love this piece. And so I'm excited to get some more work done on this one. I am stitching this one on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color Glacier. I'm going to show you where I am. So this is where I'm starting the month of April on this piece. I worked a little bit. Last time I touched this was in February at the Steel City Stitchers Retreat. Worked a little tiny bit on it. I think I worked on that alphabet and just this zigzag border at the retreat because I was working on a couple of other pieces, and I was busy talking and shopping and visiting with other ladies. But that's pretty much the true color right there. It's a really pretty blue color. Really pretty. Love this piece. So, can't wait to get more work done on this. I believe I'm doing this one with all the called for over-dyed threads. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So here, then it's a mess. All of my, I don't know how some floss tubers have theirs so neat and pretty. I don't know if they sit there and comb them before they have a video up, or they're just neater stitchers than me. But lots of beautiful colors in this piece. So that's the Blue Flowers Huckleberry Farm on 16 count Glacier with the called for colors. I got a stack going on down there. Okay, my next piece that I want to try to work on this month is, what is this one? Oh, this is going to be a new start. This one is another Blue Flower. And this one, my nose is itching again. I think I figured out what it is, what causes my Flosstube itchy nose. The other day I was stitching. I was sitting in my chair stitching, and I had my light over top of me. And when I was grabbing pieces of thread off of my floss drops, I could see the little thread fibers, little pieces of like lint coming off of them and floating in the air. And I'm thinking when I'm unzipping and zipping these bags and I'm pulling pieces out that those are flying in the air, and every now and then they start to get to my nose and make my nose itch. I think that's my theory. That's my theory. Because I hear a lot of floss tubers say they get the same thing. But the Blue Flowers Moonlight Sampler. I have been wanting to get this one started. This one I'm going to use most of the called for, but I did not have some of them. Could not get them in or whatever. They weren't in stock. So I switched in a few, couple of Victorian models and the DMC conversion for a couple of the overdyes. And I'm going with a totally different fabric choice. It's a 16 count Aida, or no, maybe this is 18. This looks 18. 18 count Aida by Fiber on a Whim in the color Pistachio. Look at that. It's a pretty bluey green color. So I'm going to stitch that one, this Moonlight Sampler on this one, because of the one color I really want, the colors that I really want to show really nicely are the really bright. I think what makes this sampler are these, it's called the Moonlight Sampler. I'm loving the colors going on in the lettering and the moth and the couple of different moths and the whites and stuff. So these really bright colors, I think they're still going to show on here. Where's the other one? This one. This one's the overdyed white color. Or not white. It's what color is this one? This one is Moon Glow by Weeks Dye Works. I think it's going to show up really nice on the fabric. And then I pulled in this Victorian Motto green because I didn't have the called for. So I picked one that I knew would show up on the fabric nice enough. So that is going to be a new start. Probably going to start on that tomorrow because April 1st. Get a start on this one. Originally, I thought I wanted to do this as my birthday start, but I'm still starting it in April, but just not on my birthday, because my birthday start is something else I'm going to start this month. Uh-oh, all my stuff is falling out of the bags. My birthday falls on Easter Sunday this year, and I will be 60 years old, so I figured I needed to celebrate it. Celebrate being 60 with Elizabeth Weston from Hands Across the Sea Samplers. And she was, I believe she was the Queen of the May. No, she wasn't. She's just a big girl. She's a pretty good size sampler. So I'm going to get her started. I liked all of her pinks and greens that she had going on in this. Love the border. Love the flower baskets. And this, this temple here. Forgot what they called it. There's a name for that temple. I'm going to be stitching this on a piece of 32 count Lugana in the color Stone Gray. So it is a gray, but kind of a rosy gray. So I think it's going to lend itself, it's a cool tone gray. So it's going to lend itself well to the pinks and things, I think, that are in this sampler. And I can't wait. So she's going to be my birthday start. So I'm going to be starting her in a couple of weeks-ish. And that's my plan anyway, because I think I'll have time on my birthday day. So I think there might be things, I got some thoughts on the 16th to do something on my birthday with my grandson. Well, my grandsons, and hopefully my granddaughter will be able to, join along too. But there's something I might be able to do on the 16th, and maybe we can celebrate my birthday then. We'll see. We'll see. My other new start for April, the planned new start, is my market piece that I had showed you that I had received already. And it's Teresa Kogut's Let Love Rain. And it looks like this. Sorry. And this is a favorite by a lot of people. And Cindy and Madeline, and my two stitching friends, we're doing a StitchCon piece together. We had said we would wait and start this at StitchCon this year. And now we're getting together next month for a retreat, and we decided to start it then. Also with our friend Paula that we met at the Steel City Stitchers retreat in February. She's going to join us. So hopefully we can do some Zoom meetings and things like that with her. She lives in Pennsylvania, so it's kind of hard to get together with her. But we're going to all start this in April, probably around, I don't know, the third week in April. One of the days we're at our little retreat thing that we're going to. So I'm going to stitch this one, and I've already changed my mind on my fabric. I had a piece of ivory Lugana set aside for it. I do have all of the called for colors for it, and I was going to do it on an ivory Lugana, but now I changed my mind, and I'm going to do it on this piece of Seraphim, what is this? 18 count Ada in the color Old Stationery. It's kind of got a little bit of those cool mottled, little brownish tones to it. I think all of these colors look like they're going to show up well on there. And I've changed my mind on my blue. When I looked at this, I loved the pattern and I loved the colors. I loved how it was a lot of tan, brown, and blues. So I wanted the blues that are in here to show up more than the called for blue. So the called for blue for it, which I have, because I can always change my mind back, is get my glasses on. I don't know why I think I can read this stuff without my glasses. 926, DMC 926. So, and it's kind of a greenish blue color, like a palish greenish blue. But I thought, I went and looked at my blues that I have in my stash, and I have one by Forget Me Not, by Victorian Motto in the color Forget Me Not. And I thought this color would just be a little prettier of a blue color. So we'll see. I might start with this. If I don't like it, I can always take it out and go back to the called for color. But the colors are, you know, pretty much, you know, tans and browns. Let me pull. I got several skeins of each color. Let me see if I can pull one of each pretty much to kind of show you. So there's a couple of Weeks Dye Works, Oscar and Onyx, and then there's some browns and greens of DMC. Let me see if I can hold them all up. So I think I'm going to make that my blue to go with all of these other colors going on in here. All these browns and tans. That's my thinking in my piece of fabric. So I'm going to do it on this 18 count, and the 18 count will make it a little bit smaller than doing it on a 28 count Lugana or a 16 count Ada. And I have a fat half of this, so it should be plenty big enough to stitch this large sampler on. So I'm excited to get that one started. So those are some of my plans. I got a little bit more here. I'm going to set this one to the side because I'm going to need that a little later. My next piece that I'm thinking of, I told you the focus on a designer is ink circles and long dog samplers. So I'm going to work some more on my ink circles piece. And this one is Cercle de Cerro. I'm not sure how to say that. It's French, even though I took 4 years of French. Never remember that word. So, but this one I'm doing with a Silks for You color. So I'm doing it in, and it is on a piece of 16 count Ada by Picture This Plus in the color Tycho. And I am using the Silks for You, what is this, PR094. Now it looks like this. So it's a variegated silk with purples and blues. PR094 on Picture This Plus Tyco. And I had a page finish on it before when I had worked on it not just recently. I've shown this one. So I'm going to get a little bit more work done on this one this month. That's my plan. So I'm going to see if I can get some more. But I love the variegations in that silk thread. Really pretty. So that for the focus on a designer, because I have 2 ink circles and I have 2 long dogs. I have the Dog's Declaration that I showed you I was working on this past month. So I'm going to work on it still a little bit more. And I have the Cirque du Soleil, and I have Long Dog Hoity Toity, and I have a second long dog sampler piece that needs some more love, and that one is called Pandemic. Haven't touched this one in a little while, so I need to get this one out and get some more work done on it. And it looks like this, and I am way up here. So I'm working up in this area on Pandemic. And I am stitching this one on a 16 count Aida and just an off-white Aida that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. Comes in the long kind of sleeve. And I'm just using the whole piece of that. And I am using DMC, a variegated purple DMC. And the color, because this is all I have left of a skein, so that's not helping me much to let you know what I've got. And the color 52. So it says variegated DMC purple that I'm stitching it, and I have several skeins because I'm going to need several skeins of this piece. So when I finish this one, I just pull out another skein and keep stitching away. And like I said, it's just a 16 count off-white Aida, and this is how far I am so far on this piece. I love it. It is so fun. The last time I was working on it, I was working on this little diamond area right here. I finished it up. But that is my Pandemic by Long Dog. So for the focus on a designer, I'll be working on this one, hopefully some this month also. That is in my plans. That is the plan, Stan. So, throw all this back in the bag, because that one is going to be a very long-term piece for me to ever get finished. And then my Maribelia focus for this month. I told you I was working on, I showed you I was working on Princess Eliana. So now I've rotated back in my Winter Queen by Maribelia. She looks like this. Because I have, I just started her at the beginning, the first day of winter. I started this as a stitch along with Carolyn Stitches on Flosstube and Instagram. Her name is Carolyn. Her Flosstube is Carolyn Stitches. And she has a lot of beautiful Maribelias and things like that that she's working on. And she's actually starting some needle points lately. So if you're interested in also checking out needlepoint, I think that's what it's called. Beautiful that she's working on. So we're stitching this. I also know that Janet Jabber, she is working on her queens in the season. So she just put away her Winter Queen, and she's got a lot done on her. So she'll be pulling her Winter Queen back out this winter, back in December. Have a few more weeks to work on her this year. But she just pulled out and started working again on her Spring Queen, now that it is spring. But I'm going to work on this lady. I didn't get very far because I told you I switched gears on the color. At first I was stitching her on this really light colored Lugana, and I don't even know which way it goes. But I was having trouble when I was getting in here to the whites and the grays, and it was just blending in a whole lot, and it was hard to see it. And I thought, I really want you to be able to see her. So I pulled up this piece of, I think it's called Cardinal by Bestitch Me. Did I write it down? I am using all the called for DMCs. I have them in a box, just bobbinated. These are her colors. And she has some Whisper thread, which is that fuzzy thread. and some beads. And these are extra. She has a lot of this one colored DMC in her dress. But I switched, I'm pretty sure this is called Cardinal by Bestitch Me. And I'm trying to, I think it goes this way. I'll have to look at the pattern. But I can see her popping out on this fabric so much more. So I switched gears and I started stitching her on this. So this is my starting point for April of where I am right now on Winter Queen. So I'm hoping to get some more good progress on her so that maybe, you know, at one point I'd like to work my way up, because where I am is I started in the middle. So I'm kind of on her lap right here, and I started working up her one sleeve, trying to work up her arm and maybe get into this part so she actually looks like a person and not just a blob of colors. We'll see. We'll see how far I can get this month on her. But I'd like to at least, you know, get a couple of few days in on her. I'm thinking if I can, you know, told you before that I really love this one Flosstuber. Her name is Lori Chicalone with Once Upon a Stitch. And she does a 3-day rotation, and she seems to get quite a bit done in her 3 days. At least you can see measurable progress in 3 days on her pieces. And I thought, you know, 3 days is about what I like to stitch on something, and then I kind of switch to something else. So I've kind of played with the idea of, like, if I have about 10 pieces besides my morning pieces that I just kind of pick up and put a thread in the morning. If I have about 10 pieces that I rotate every 3 days, you know, pick up something and work on something else, kind of do something like she does. Sorry, I need to reach down here for my last couple of pieces that I want to start for this month. And I told you I'm rotating in Twin Peak primitive pieces also. So this month, I want to work on my the first Thanksgiving by Twin Peak Primitives. And I have been working up here in this area on the piece. And the last I was working on it, I started in this little vignette of the Plymouth Plantation. And I was switching out colors because some of the colors just weren't working and things like that. So, it's not all the called fors. And I'm switching things around a little bit and stuff like that. But this is where I am. Sorry for the creases. And this one is being stitched on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color Dirty. And I love Dirty and Amber and things because the whites pop off nicely. Twin Peak Primitives, they're one that's good for Aida stitchers because they usually don't do fractional stitches or specialty stitches. It's pretty much, it's just straight up cross stitch. So I'm planning on coming down and working more in the vignette down here. See if I can get some more, get that building finished and some more in there. That's my plan. So that's where I am on the first Thanksgiving by Twin Peak Primitives. This past month, I told you, you saw I was working on the One Nation Under God, and I'm switching to the first Thanksgiving. And another piece that I want to work a little bit on because I just love it, and I didn't get to work on it for the past few weeks. I haven't touched it. But that is His Eye is on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery, because this is another large piece. So I want to plug away and at least, work on getting, a few motifs in here and there, not just let it sit for months and months and don't touch it. And I'm working up in here. So, and I'm stitching this one on a piece of 32 count Lugana in the color Vintage Country Mocha. And I have subbed in a few colors, but I have most of the called for on this one. You don't want to see the back of it. Let me show you the front. Let me get it turned right side out. And this is where I am. So this is the piece so far. The last I was working on it, I had filled in this deer and did this bird. That's the very beginning of an urn that's next to that big house that's over here. So let me see if I can get it closer. This is where I am on His Eye is on the Sparrow. I love this piece. This is fun. This is something that you can come pick up for, you know, say you only have 2 or 3 hours in the evening to stitch or whatever. You can come in and even if you just have an hour, do a little bird or a little flower motif, you know, or do one of these if you have more than an hour. Sorry, my throat. But I got his eye is, so I'm hoping to maybe get some of the words, get this urn or something over here. And I think there's one other decent sized bird right in here that I might work on when I pull this up next. I love this piece. So that's my his eye is on a sparrow. So hoping to get a little bit more, be able to pick this one up and work on it some, and see if I can get a little bit more done on this one. Because it is fun. I really like that piece. That was one I was really excited to get started, and I was having, you know, having to wait because I had something else I had on the front burner, and so it had to sit for a little while. And the last thing, another thing, like I now have 2 finishes for the year. I'm not one that I have finishes every week. You're not going to see me showing, not normally. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, because a lot of these big pieces might get close to a finish and I might be just popping out finish after finish after finish. But for the most part, I don't get a lot of finishes because I'm working on quite large pieces. So I have goals. I had showed you my goals at my plans that I did in December, sometime before Christmas, I think it was, back in December. Talked about my 2022 goals and plans for the year. And I just wrote them out. I need to do a neater copy, but this works for me for right now. Was to have 12 finishes, and then I had 10 more goals. So far I have finished 2 of my 10 things. I finished my snow sampler and now my home of a needleworker. So I want to try to set a goal for this month and have a focus piece and see if I can get a finish. Focus on a finish this month, in the month of April, on this piece that is on my list. And this one is called Summer Delivery by Plum Street Samplers, because I'd like to have this one finished and framed so that I can display it this summer. So my thinking is if I can get working on it this April and get it finished, I could have it framed and everything by May and have it out by May sometime. And that would be nice. And I am this far on this little guy. So this is where I am. I have the horse all finished. I have the little wagon he's pulling finished. I have the sign here done. I have to fill in the back of this sign. It's filled in with white, just like the horse. And then I have to finish this sheep. This is the start of a sheep right here. And then there's all these pinwheels and stars and things like that in the design that I still need to do. So I still need to, you know, finish all of this here and fill in the sign. So I'm going to see if I can get it. I'm going to focus on it for a finish. If I can't finish it this month, then at least if I can get it done in May. You know, that's why I figured if I start it now, maybe I can get a finish on it by May at least. And this one, I am stitching it on a 16 count piece of Aida in a color, what is the color? Country French Rain. And I am using DMCs for this one. Is it DMCs? Yeah, I must be doing the DMC conversion for this one. They're all DMCs. So I love this one. I love how the horse is popping up this color. Originally, I had him on a lighter piece of fabric, and I switched. So I was happy with this kind of gray blue color that I'm stitching this one on. So I'm going to see if I can get a finish on this one sometime soon. Hopefully this month, if not this month, next month is the thoughts. So, but I'm going to be kind of busy in May, so I wanted to get working on it in April. And that is, do I have that? Oh, it's in there. That is all of the things I'm planning on working on for the month of April. Let me see. Yep, that's it. That's all. I think I'm going to be a little bit busy. But it's a good busy. I love working on my cross stitch. I'd like to at least get an hour or so every day if I can. Somebody asked me one time how many hours I stitch in a day. I am retired, so I do have more time to stitch. I had many years where I was raising my kids and working and all of the in between. You know, there were times when I also worked a part-time job and just different things. So I have the time now to sit and to work on my cross stitch. So I probably do anywhere from, even if I'm busy that day and I'm out and about, there are very few days I don't stitch at all. I try to get in like an hour at least every day. If not, probably my average is like 5 or 6 hours, because I might stitch for an hour or two in the morning and then pick it back up in the evening and work another 2 or 3 hours in the evening, you know, after dinner. So it just depends. And sometimes even in the afternoon, I might sit and stitch for a little while. If I'm not having a busy day, if I've got, you know, I don't have any major plans or anything, then I might even stitch for an hour or two in the afternoon. But I do stitch for an hour or two in the morning, a couple hours in the morning, and then I stitch 2 or 3 hours in the evening. You know, I might be watching TV with my husband and sitting and stitching. So I do get a few hours a day in pretty much every day. I did have, let me look at my notes really quick. I did have in my comments, I was talking about comments, you know, somebody was asking me how many hours in a day I stitch. I've also had people ask me, where do I purchase my things? And I told them various places. It's not all one place. I've ordered lots of things because I don't have a very close needlework shop to me. I have to drive at least an hour to get to the closest one. I think there's one out in the mountains, out in western part of the state in Virginia, out towards, I want to say Winchester, out that way, which is a good couple of hours or so away. There's one down in Virginia Beach, which is another couple of hours away from me. And then there's one in Alexandria in Stitches, but that is with 95 traffic, and then you hit traffic coming home, because if you don't time it, you really hit bad Washington, D.C. traffic. So I don't get up there too often. So I have, and then when I started back into my cross stitch, it was COVID. So everything was in lockdown. So I was ordering things a lot on 1-2-3 Stitch. I order from Garon Stitchery. I order from, I've ordered from Sassy Jack's, Annabella's. I've ordered from Etsy, several shops on Etsy. I pick up things when I go on my stitching retreats. I've been to Keepsakes. I've been able to shop with the Crafty U at the Steel City Stitchers Retreat, Salty Yarns in Ocean City. You know, so I get my things in several places. I don't just shop in one store, because it's all over the place. So I don't have one particular place I order from or go to. And then another question that I had on my channel, and I thought, let me show you, because you know, I thought I can't really explain it in a comment, you know, section. So I told the lady, it was Carrie Hunter. She asked me, how do I cut my floss for my projects? And I thought I would show really quick how I do that. And anybody who's not interested, you know, I'm going to do this, and I have a little bit of haul, and that will be the end of my video. But since I have my Let Love Rain that I'm going to start in about 3 weeks, and I have all of my flosses sitting here, I could show you a couple of different ways that I cut my floss. And I was telling you, I shop at a bunch of different people on Etsy. This floss tag and floss ring and this little charm, I ordered this from Siggy's Closet on Etsy. She is a wonderful lady on Etsy. It is Siggy's Closet. I'll just show you this really quick, because she packages it all really nicely. Like I said, it came in a little organza bag. And she has needle minders and a lot of floss rings and things like that. But the back of her card says, handmade with love. Siggy's Closet is named in honor of my mother, who taught me the art of stitching when I was a young girl. Sig was more than a nickname. It was the essence of the unique, creative person whom I called Mom. And she's on Etsy, and she has a Gmail, and she says follow Siggy's Closet on Facebook and Instagram. So it's Siggy's Closet. And I've ordered several needle minders and floss rings from her. So this is one that I just recently got in. And since it's Let Love Rain, I thought I'm going to use this love. It's got a little love charm and another one here. So when I'm getting my projects ready, so I've got a floss, I'm on a floss drop one, and Let Love Rain has a couple of overdyes, so this is easy. Sorry. At first I thought, oh, I have to take it off here and I have to redo the whole thing. No, the overdyes, when I get these in, they're already in a perfect length to stitch with. Let me get a pair of scissors here out of my desk. So all I do is cut the loop at the end. So they have it looped. I just cut the loop. And then I can pull my thread straight off of here now. And it's the perfect length because I use, on the size fabric that I stitch on, I use 2 threads almost always. Unless it's a 1/1 and then I have to use just 1 strand. That's an exception to the rule for me. But normally I'm working with 2 strands. So I would pull 2 pieces off of here and work with that. Okay. So that's how I cut this one. And it would be the same for my Victorian motto. My Victorian mottos here it's nice length already. It's already comes looped down here. It has some, already, part of it's looped, part of it's not. And I would just find the middle of this. So this will be ready for me. Where's the middle? I think it's right. Yeah. And cut right through there. I think I missed a couple of loops though. And you want to make sure you get all of your loops, because then when you're trying to pull your thread, you'll find yourself having a mess trying to pull it off of your floss drop later. So now this one's ready to go. All I would need to do is cut this little, where they tied it on here. I just cut that little piece of string off. I didn't get it all. I don't want to cut my floss. And now I can pull off threads whenever I want. You can also tie this on here if you want to. But usually I want my threads coming from the same piece of the skein. So a lot of times when I pull mine, I grab the whole piece, the whole 6-strand piece. And then I just pull, kind of separate my threads. And then I pull 2 pieces from the same end. I think it's getting ready to thunderstorm and my one dog gets nervous. She's trying to hide somewhere. She might wind up in my lap. Sorry for my throat, people. It's allergy season here. So it's spring, it's allergies, spring and fall. But that's how I do those. Now, my DMCs, because this project also has DMCs. What's wrong, baby girl? I'm sorry. Is it getting ready to storm outside? Say I want to floss drop this one. This one is $9.35. So first I will take, before I, forget what color this is, I will write on my floss tag what color number this one is. So I write my number on there, my nice handwriting. And then when you're pulling it off of your DMC floss, pull it from the side where the band with the number on it. Okay, and you can even pull that off. You're going to see now you have an end there. I want to unravel, I undo the whole thing. And I just kind of lay it. My dog doesn't walk over it. So I pull it and I just kind of lay it down nice and neat. I don't want it to get all knotted. Every now and then I get a little bit of a knot in here. So I keep holding that one end and I end up at the other end. This is 8 yards, about 8 yards of floss on a DMC. And I find my other end of my DMC and I match them up. Okay. And then I straighten it all out. Don't let it get knotted on you. Okay, just pull it nicely. Straighten it all till you get to all the way down to the other end of your 8 yards here. And you're going to have a loop. So I match that loop up. Remember how when I was cutting the loops here, you're going to have loops again here. Some loose ends and some loops. Do it again. Double it over again. Find now I'm going to have 2 loops because I'm doubling it again. Put it together, and then I do it one more time, and I put those loops up there. Now this end right here that has all, I have the open ends and the loops over here. This is where I've been doubling it over. I'm going to take the middle there. This is a perfect length for me because like I told you, I use 2 threads. So I want longer in DMC because I take 1 thread and I do the loop start method when I'm stitching. So it will usually be double the length because I'm using 1 strand, but I'm doubling it over and doing the loop start. If you're not familiar with the loop start method, I do have a Flosstube video I put up a few months back. It's called Basics of Cross Stitch, and I explain the loop start method. Okay, so then I take the loop I have, all the loops I have up here for the middle of it, and I bring it through my hole in my floss tag, and then I just take and I grab my floss and I just loop it on there. And just like I did with the Weeks Dye Works and the Victorian Motto ones, I cut my loops. Okay, now I have the perfect length for me where I can grab 1 strand off of here. And I know when I first started stitching, I did not, do I have a needle? No, I have a needle somewhere. When I very first started stitching, I thought, well, how do you get it off of the floss ring? That doesn't make any sense to me. So you can take a needle and you can find 1 thread when you're ready to, my nose, sorry, allergies. I have my glasses on so I can see. You grab 1 thread and you just pull it. And now I have my thread that I can just take both ends and thread it into the needle. And I'll have my loop on the other end that I can do my loop start. Okay, so that, the needle there on that needle minder, is how, I have to put that back there because I'm not stitching this piece yet. That is how I cut my flosses. So I just cut the loops on these and these are ready to go. And that's how I do my DMCs. And like I said, I like twice the length. Take that one off of there for now. So I like double the length for my, now, when it's the exception to the rule and I'm only using 1 strand, then I take it and I pull it off of there and I cut it in half. Because I don't want to have 1 strand that I'm pulling a long, 3 feet of floss, stitching in the back 40, got it longer than my arm trying to pull a stitch through. I don't want that. So I usually will just cut it in half. On the rare occasion that I'm stitching with only 1 thread and I have my DMC and it's with DMC and it's long like that. With these, they're already the length where you could just grab 1 and use it. It's not too long. If you want to cut it in half, you can do that with these too. So that's it. That is my, how I cut my DMCs and how I cut my overdyes to have them ready to start stitching with and get them on a floss drop. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, well, for one thing, and I forgot to say this at the beginning of my video, I wanted to give a big thank you, shout out to Lisa by Crossed by Floss. That's her Flosstube channel. She gave me a shout out in her recent video that she just put out a few days ago. I found out about it. I hadn't seen her channel, so a commenter on my last video said she found me by Lisa by Crossed by Floss. So I went over and checked her out. And I want to thank you, Lisa, for the wonderful, wonderful shout out you gave me. That was so sweet of you. And also want to let you guys know, if you haven't heard of her, she stitches a lot of Maribelias, and she does them on Aida. So if you're interested in seeing somebody who stitches Maribelias and they stitch them on Aida, check her out, Crossed by Floss. And I forgot what this young lady's name is. I was going to write it down before the video and I forgot to. Names, I can be introduced to somebody and they can say, hi, my name is Lisa. And I can say, hi, Lisa, how are you? And then later I'm going, what was her name? I forget people's names. I have to hear them like 3 or 4 times before I remember them. I'm terrible with names. And that is one thing that I lack in, is remembering people's names. There's a funny meme I saw. It said, my superhero talent is forgetting your name as soon as you tell me what it is. I am so bad with names. I have to kind of repeat them over and over and over to myself to remember them. But I saw this new to me Flosstuber. I think she has a little under 1,000 subscribers on the videos that I was checking out, and she has a few up. I watched maybe 4. I think I watched all 4 of hers. She is a joy to watch, and she has some beautiful stitching. And her Flosstube channel is the letter K, threads and stitches. K, threads and stitches. So if you want to check out, if you want somebody new to check out and see if you would enjoy, also think about checking out K thread stitches. She's in the Air Force, and she's also working towards her master's degree and in medical field some way. And she has some beautiful, beautiful stitching that she has done, and beautiful finishes. I want to tell you, her finishes rival the stitching with the housewives and Java Girl stitches, with these beautiful finishes that she does. So if you're interested in seeing how somebody who does more than just putting things in a frame, if you want to see somebody who uses some unique pieces that she picks up at Target Dollar Spot or the Hobby Lobby clearance section or the spring shop or whatever, she does some really pretty finishes on her pieces, and she's got some lovely stitching. And I think that is it. I promise that I will not make this video 2 hours and 20 minutes long. So we're going to cut this one at only 1 hour and 20 something minutes. So I thank you all for tuning into my channel again. Hope you come back to see me again. If you're new, welcome. I hope you come back. I hope you subscribe and you like, and stick around and see what I'm up to. See where I get with my things in April. If you saw anything that I showed that I'm going to hope to be working on next month, and you want to see any progress that I have on those, come check me out. And I hope to be back in a couple of weeks. And until then, I wish you guys health, happiness, and much love, and happy stitching. Ciao.